There is a gallon of plain white vinegar on a shelf in most kitchens in this country right now, and it is quietly worth more to your garden than half the bottles lined up at the garden center this spring. But here is the part most folks never get told plainly. Most people aim that vinegar at the one job it is genuinely worst at, and walk right past the dozen jobs it does better than almost anything you could buy. I have been at this a long time, and I made most of these mistakes myself before I learned the difference. So today I want to give you the honest version. 15 real uses for the vinegar you already own, written for someone who has been tending a garden for decades and deserves straight information instead of recycled internet advice. I will tell you exactly how to mix each one, exactly what it is for, and, just as important, which ones are worth your time and which ones are small convenience tricks. Some of what you have heard about vinegar in the garden is flatly wrong, and a few of those wrong recipes will quietly damage your soil for years. I will tell you which parts to skip. The order matters. The two that surprise people most come later. One of them will change how long fresh flowers last on your kitchen table, and the last one will change the way you think about plant disease entirely. Stay with me to the end for those. Let's start where most people start, and where the most dangerous bad advice lives. Weeds in the cracks of a walkway. The single most common reason people reach for vinegar, and the place where one popular online recipe does real harm. You have seen it. White vinegar, dish soap, and a big cup of table salt. That mixture does kill weeds. It also quietly sterilizes the ground where it lands. Here is the difference that matters. The acetic acid in vinegar breaks down in the soil within days. Soil microbes turn it into harmless compounds, and it is gone. Salt does not do that. Sodium does not break down, and in most yards it lingers and builds up over time. Spray that salt mixture in a bed, and the things you plant there afterwards struggle. Spray it near the foundation, and the runoff can reach the roots of your shrubs. Spray it along a fence line, and the salt creeps sideways underground into the bed beside it. Leave the salt out. It is the one ingredient you cannot take back. The honest recipe is the same thing with the salt removed. 1 gallon of plain white vinegar and 2 tablespoons of liquid dish soap. The vinegar dries out the leaves. The soap helps it cling instead of beating off. Spray on a hot, sunny day, coat the foliage until it is wet, and keep it off anything you want to keep. Within hours, the leaves brown. Within 2 or 3 days, the top growth is gone. Now here is the honest detail the splashy videos leave out. Household vinegar is about 5% acetic acid, and at that strength, it kills the top of the weed, not always the root. On a young weed, the top is the whole plant. But on an established perennial, a dandelion, a thistle, bindweed, the root holds reserves, and it will push back up. You will need to hit it again, and again, over a few weeks to wear that root down. Vinegar does not travel inside the plant the way a systemic weed killer does. It burns what it touches and nothing more, so use it where it shines. Young weeds in the cracks of a patio, a gravel path, a driveway, places you want nothing growing at all. Use it sparingly in beds, never beside a plant you love, and never with salt. And one more honest note because you deserve the whole picture. There is a stronger vinegar, the 20% kind sold for weeds. It works far better. It is also genuinely caustic. At that strength, it can burn your skin and your eyes, and the label carries the strongest warning word there is. If you ever reach for it, treat it with the same respect you would give any real chemical. Gloves, eye protection, the whole bit. The cheap bottle in your kitchen is the safe one. It is simply not the strong one. They are two different tools that happen to share a name. Your tools. Pull an old pair of pruners or a trowel out of the shed in spring, and you will often find a film of orange rust where the damp got to them. Most people either scrub themselves raw or give up and replace the tool. Vinegar does the work for you while you do something else. Submerge the rusted metal parts in undiluted white vinegar and walk away. For light rust, an hour or two. For a tool that has been neglected a season or more, leave it overnight. The acetic acid reacts with the rust and loosens it from the good metal underneath. When you pull it out, the rust wipes off with steel wool or a stiff brush far more easily than it ever would dry. Rinse it well, dry it completely, and put a thin coat of oil on the metal so it does not rust again right away. One honest caution: do not leave good steel soaking for days on end. A few hours, or a single overnight, is plenty. Left too long, the acid begins to etch the bare metal itself. Pull the tool, clean it, oil it, and it will serve you many more seasons. A good pair of pruners is not cheap to replace. A gallon of vinegar runs about $3 or $4 and will clean every rusty tool hanging in your shed. Clay pots. If you have grown in terracotta for any length of time, you know the chalky white crust that builds up on the outside. A ring of it near the soil line streaks down the sides. That is mineral salts from your water drawn out through the porous clay. It does not hurt the plant one bit, but it makes a healthy pot look tired and neglected. Mix 4 cups of warm water with 1 cup of white vinegar in a basin and set the empty pot in to soak. At least 30 minutes, longer for a heavy crust. The acid dissolves the mineral deposits, and when you lift the pot out and rinse it, the warm orange color of the clay comes right back. For a pot too big to submerge, lay vinegar-soaked rags over the crusted areas and swap them out every 20 minutes or so. Same result, a little slower. A bottle of commercial mineral remover at the garden center runs $12 to $18 and uses essentially the same acid. Your version costs about $1 a session. This next one saves equipment most people do not think about until it fails. The same hard water minerals that crust your pots also build up inside the things that carry your water. The rose head on a watering can, a hose nozzle, the tiny emitters on a drip line. They clog slowly, the flow goes uneven, and one day half the holes are blocked. Soak the removable parts in an equal mix of white vinegar and warm water for a half hour. For a drip emitter or a sprayer head that comes apart, that same soak dissolves the deposits inside the narrow channels where no brush will reach. Rinse well, and the flow comes back even again. It is the kind of small maintenance that quietly doubles the working life of equipment that is genuinely aggravating to replace in the middle of the season. If you grow under glass, a greenhouse, a cold frame, even the old storm windows people repurpose into one, light is everything. A film of mineral spots and algae on the glass steals it, and your seedlings stretch and reach for what little gets through. A simple equal parts solution of white vinegar and water in a spray bottle cuts the mineral haze and the green film that plain water leaves behind. Spray it, let it sit a minute, wipe it clear. The glass lets the light through the way it is meant to, and the difference in how sturdy and compact your seedlings grow is real. Now, one that matters to a lot of us for reasons that have nothing to do with money: a bird bath. Come summer, a basin of standing water turns green and slick with algae fast, and that slime is a hazard to the very birds you put it out for. The common advice is a bleach cleaner. It works, but it leaves a residue, and a songbird's small body does not handle chemical traces the way ours does. So, here is the gentle way. Once a week in warm weather, tip out the old water, scrub the basin with a stiff brush, then pour about a cup of plain white vinegar over the surface and scrub another minute. The vinegar lifts the algae, handles the bacteria, and takes the mineral ring off, all at once. Rinse it thoroughly until you cannot smell vinegar anymore, and refill with clean water. The cardinals and finches and chickadees that visit your window should not have to pay for clean water with their health. Vinegar rinses away to nothing and leaves them safe. To my mind, that is the whole reason you set the bath out in the first place. The same care goes for your feeders. A hummingbird feeder with its sugar water sitting in the sun grows black mold inside the ports and along the seams quicker than almost anything in the yard, and that mold can sicken the tiny birds it is meant to feed. Every few days, take the feeder apart and soak the pieces in a solution of 1 part white vinegar to 4 parts water. Run a small brush or a pipe cleaner through the ports to clear the mold in the narrow spots. Then rinse every part well before you refill. Skip the soap here. It can leave a film hummingbirds dislike, and the vinegar does the job on its own. Clean, rinsed, refilled. That is a feeder doing what you hoped it would. And this is not only about how the feeder looks. A grimy feeder is one of the ways sickness passes from one bird to the next, so a clean one is a small kindness that protects the whole little crowd that visits you. Let's step back inside for a moment, because vinegar solves a summer kitchen problem nearly everyone fights. Fruit flies. And this is the one job where you want apple cider vinegar specifically, not the white. Pour about half a cup of apple cider vinegar into a small bowl or jar. Add 3 to 5 drops of liquid dish soap and give it one gentle swirl, not enough to make suds. Set it where the flies gather, by the fruit bowl, near the compost pail, beside the sink drain. Here is the trick of it. The fermented, fruity smell of the cider vinegar draws them in from across the room. They land expecting to feed, and normally the surface tension of the liquid would hold their weight, the way a water strider stands on a pond. But the dish soap breaks that surface tension completely. The moment they touch down, they sink. By the next morning, the bowl has caught a crowd of them, and within a few days the kitchen is clear. Empty it, and mix a fresh one every 3 or 4 days while they are around. That same trap, made shallow and set low, handles a pest that drives indoor gardeners and seed starters to distraction. Fungus gnats. Those little dark flies that drift up out of the soil of your houseplants and seedling trays. A shallow dish of apple cider vinegar with a drop of dish soap, set right at the soil surface, catches the adults the same way it catches fruit flies. But here is the honest part. The trap catches the flying adults, not the larvae living down in the wet soil, where the real trouble is. So pair it with the thing that actually breaks the cycle. Let the top inch of soil dry out between waterings. The gnats need constant moisture to breed. Dry that surface out, and you take away their nursery while the trap thins out the rest. Ants. Marching along a porch step, finding their way to the pet bowl, filing through a seam in the doorway. Vinegar will not destroy a colony, and I want to be honest about that right up front, but it does break up their road. Mix equal parts white vinegar and water in a spray bottle, and wipe or spray it along the lines you have watched them travel. The threshold they enter through, the base of the pet bowl without hitting the food itself, the edge of the counter. Ants navigate by scent. A scout that finds food lays down a chemical trail, and the others follow it like a thread. Vinegar erases that thread, and the followers lose the path. The smell fades from our noses within an hour, but the trail stays broken. You will need to wipe those areas down again every few days while the ants are active, because they are persistent and will try to lay a fresh trail. It is a deterrent, not a final answer. But it is safe around the kitchen and the pets, which the sprays on the store shelf often are not. Bigger visitors next. Raccoons in the trash, rabbits testing the vegetable bed, a neighborhood cat treating a corner of your yard as its own. The sharp, sour smell of vinegar is genuinely unpleasant to most mammals, and they tend to root around it. Soak some old, clean cotton rags or sponges in undiluted white vinegar and tuck them where you want to draw a line. Around the base of the trash can lid, at the corners of a bed, near the gap in the fence where the rabbits come through. Refresh them every few days and after any rain, because rain washes the scent away. Be honest with yourself about what to expect, though. On raccoons with those sensitive noses, it works well. On rabbits, it is hit or miss. A determined rabbit population will walk right past it, and you will still need a fence. On cats and dogs, some are put off and some could not care less. It is a fair first step, often enough to redirect an animal, and completely harmless to the animal itself. Just unpleasant for a while. The pest you rarely catch in the act. Slugs and snails. They work the night shift, chewing ragged holes in hostas and lettuce and strawberry leaves, and by morning they are tucked away under the mulch with the damage already done. On a damp evening, go out after dark with a flashlight when they are feeding, and carry a spray bottle of equal parts vinegar and water. Spray it directly on any slug or snail you find. It breaks down the slime layer they depend on to move, and that is the end of them. But here is the line you must not cross. Do not spray that solution on your plants. The same acid that handles the slug will scorch tender leaves. A hosta, a fern, lettuce especially. Aim at the slug itself, on the soil or a hard surface, never on the foliage. They are worst in the damp stretches, in spring and in fall, and the night after a good rain. That is when an evening walk with the spray bottle pays off most, because that is when they are out in numbers. For a bad year, set a few shallow dishes of cheap beer sunk to soil level alongside your evening rounds. The two together do more than either one alone, and unlike the metaldehyde pellets on the shelf, which can poison a curious dog or a visiting bird, this puts nothing dangerous in the garden. Now we come to the part where I have to be a little more careful with you, because this is a trick you will see everywhere, and the way it is usually told oversells it badly. The idea is that soaking seeds in vinegar water wakes up old or stubborn seeds. There is something real here, but let me give you the honest mechanism. Many seeds wear a hard coat that keeps water out until conditions are right, and soaking softens that coat so water can finally reach the embryo inside. The thing is, most of that softening is the soaking itself, the water, not the vinegar. A few drops of vinegar in a cup of water is a very weak acid, far gentler than what commercial growers use, and the research backs that up. It is safer than the strong acids, but also far less effective. If you want to try it, fill a small bowl with about a cup of room-temperature water, add 3 to 5 drops of white vinegar, and soak the seeds 4 to 6 hours, or overnight for the truly hard-coated ones. Morning glory, moonflower, old parsley, last year's leftovers. Then drain and plant right away. It can give a tired packet one more honest chance. But here is the part the breathless versions never mention. At least one study found that soaking seeds in vinegar actually raised the rate of mold on the seeds without improving germination over plain water at all. So do not throw away your good seeds chasing this. Do what careful gardeners have always done. Leave yourself a control. Soak half the packet, plant the other half dry, and let your own garden tell you the truth. That answer is worth more than anything I, or anyone online, can promise you. Here is the first of the two that genuinely surprise people, and it has nothing to do with the garden beds at all. It happens on your kitchen table. A grocery store bouquet usually gives you about a week before the stems turn and the blooms droop. The same bouquet, with one simple change to the water and a little upkeep, will hold beautifully for noticeably longer, often a week or more beyond what you are used to. And this one is genuinely backed by research, not just kitchen lore. When growers tested it, sugar and vinegar together kept cut flowers in clearly better shape than plain water. The recipe is 3 things: 1 quart of plain tap water, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of ordinary white sugar. Stir until the sugar dissolves. Cut about an inch off each stem at a slant, a 45-degree angle, so the cut end cannot sit flat against the bottom of the vase and seal itself shut. Then, set the flowers straight in. Here is why it works. 2 things kill cut flowers early: bacteria multiplying in the water and the stems running out of food. The vinegar makes the water too acidic for the bacteria to take hold, so it stays clear and the stems do not clog with slime. The sugar stands in for the food the bloom used to get from its roots, keeping the petals firm. Between them, they answer both problems at once. The upkeep is the part people skip, and it is what makes the difference. Every 3 days, empty the vase, rinse it, mix a fresh batch, and trim another ½ inch off each stem at that same angle. A bouquet you brought home on a Sunday can still be lovely the 3rd Sunday after. One honest note: not every flower answers the same. Roses, carnations, and chrysanthemums, the backbone of most bouquets, respond beautifully. Lilies and sunflowers do well. The very soft ones, like sweet peas, have a short life no matter what you do. Your grandmother almost certainly knew some version of this, perhaps with a different ratio. The principle, feed the flower and keep the water clean, has been in American kitchens for over 100 years. Before I give you the last one, the one that changes how you think about plant disease, let me hand you something to keep. I took every recipe in this video, the exact mixes, the ratios, the soak times, and the honest warnings about where each one falls short, and I put them on a single page you can print and keep by the back door or tuck in the shed. Point your phone at the code on the screen and it is yours. No charge, nothing to sign up for. Then come right back, because the last use is the one I most wanted you to hear correctly. Here is the second surprise, and it comes as a correction, because most of what you have read about vinegar and your living plants gets it backwards. Two claims get repeated everywhere. The first, that watering acid-loving plants, your azaleas, rhododendrons, blueberries, hydrangeas, with diluted vinegar will sweeten the soil to their liking. The second, that vinegar cures plant disease. There is something real underneath both, and in each case it is not what you have been told. Start with the soil. Yes, vinegar is an acid, but at 5% it is a weak one, and it breaks down within hours of hitting the ground. You get a brief flicker of more acidic soil that fades almost as fast as it came, nowhere near long enough to change the soil your blueberries actually live in. Pour it on again and again, and you can disturb the very soil life those plants lean on to feed themselves. So if you want to truly acidify a bed for acid lovers, vinegar is not your tool. Elemental sulfur, worked in during the fall, does it slowly and lastingly. So do pine needles, oak leaves, and used coffee grounds, layered on as mulch. Where vinegar does earn its place is in pots. A cup to a gallon of water, poured through a container every couple of months, neutralizes the hard water minerals that nudge a pot's soil the wrong direction over time. In the ground, reach for sulfur. In a pot, vinegar helps. Now disease, and this is the part I most wanted you to hear correctly. If your roses already have black spot, your phlox already has powdery mildew, your tomatoes already have blight, vinegar will not cure it. The fungus is established inside the leaf tissue, and a spray on the surface cannot reach it. The recipes promising a cure have it wrong, and following them just costs you the plant you are trying to save. And here is where I will go a step further than most videos are willing to. You will see vinegar recommended as a preventive spray, misting your roses and tomatoes before the humid weather to hold disease off. I would skip it, and I will tell you plainly why. For one, vinegar burns leaves. 5% on tender foliage in the sun does real damage. For another, the evidence that it actually prevents anything is thin, and some trials have found the opposite, that vinegar-treated rose leaves came down with more black spot, not less. A spray that can scorch your plant and may feed the very disease you are fighting is not one I will ever tell you to use on something you love. The good news is that the prevention that genuinely works costs you nothing at all. Water at the soil, in the morning, so the leaves dry fast and the spores never get the damp they need. Prune, so the air moves through the plant. Space things so they can breathe. Pull the infected leaves and bin them rather than composting them. And lean on varieties bred to resist disease in the first place. That is the real medicine. The honest answer about vinegar and plant disease is that the cure was never in the bottle. It was in how you tend the plant. 15 uses, and the same thread runs through all of them. Most of the gardening business runs on selling you a product for a problem your pantry already handles. That is not a conspiracy. There is simply no margin in telling you to use what you already own, and the honest tradition in this country always knew the difference. The wisdom was never in the bottle. It was in telling yourself the truth about what a simple thing can do and what it cannot, then using it where it truly works, and letting the garden show you the rest.